system. Along with Eden Ash, she is our book club in a bag / events coordinator specialist as well. So, a little bit about Tracy. Tracy Clark is the award-winning author of the acclaimed Detective Harriet Foster series. She is also the author of the Chicago Mystery series featuring Cassandra Raines, a hard-driving African-American PI who works the mean streets of the Windy City, dodging cops, hogs, and killers. She is the 2024 winner of both the Anthony Award and the Lefty Award, as well as the 2020 and 2022 winner of the G.P. Putnam Sons Sue Grafton Memorial Award, and the 2022 Sarah Paratsky Award. She is also a multi-nominated Macavity, Edgar, Seamus, and ITW Thriller Award finalist. Her 2024 novel, Echo, was named one of the top 10 best mysteries of the year by the Washington Post, and her debut novel, Broken Places, was shortlisted for the American Library Association's Russo Reading List and named the Crime Reads Best New PI Book of 2018, a Midwest Connections pick, and a Library Journal Best Book of the Year. Broken Places has since been optioned by Sony Pictures Television. A Chicago native, Tracy roots for all Chicago sports teams equally. She is a member of the Crime Writers of Color, Mystery Writers of America, and Sisters in Crime, and she sits on the boards of the Boucheron National and the Midwest Mystery Midwest Mystery Conference. And we'd also like to introduce our Ali Togdell. She is our moderator for today, a fabulous mystery writer reviewer for the Sunset Note. So at the end of this Writers Live, you are able to purchase books by our fabulous Stacey over there in the corner, or you can get your books signed by the stupendous Tracy. So without further ado, let's get started with our event.
Something else. You hear me? Something else. This is just it. Tracy also has been nominated for the Lefty Award, which will be given at the Left Coast Prime at the end of February. And she was nominated for this book that we're going to be talking about today, Edge. And that's a stiff compensation you have there on that list. You've got some good authors on there.
Yeah, I don't know why I got on there, but very good.
Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you for coming, for supporting, for being readers, first of all, for supporting libraries, and when you can, for buying books. So thank you all for being here. So let's welcome Tracy. Let's have fun today, okay? You know, but it just will work. Tracy, I'd like to start these interviews with the beginning of your writing career. Did you always want to be a writer?
You need to talk into the mic. I'm having trouble hearing you.
Okay. Is this better?
Yeah.
You need to sorry, take it off the stand. Let's try that. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Tracy, let's start again with the beginning. Did you always want to be a writer? Where did that come from?
All right. When I found out that books were actually written by people and it didn't just sort of spring out of the cabbage patch, that's when I decided that I wanted to write for myself. I started writing badly at 12. I was that weird little kid who had a notebook under their mattress because they didn't want their mother to read anything they had written. That's me. And it took another 30 years before I got my book contract. So from 12 all the way through my childhood, reading, writing, until I was so I'm still working at the Tribune when I got the email from the agent who said, we would like to represent you. And it took me almost 20 seconds because before that it had been rejection after rejection after rejection. So I'm writing, getting rejection letters back over and over again. And by the time I got published, I had maybe a file like that, thick with rejection letters. But I just kept writing because that's what I wanted to do. So from 12 onward, we won't say how. And I'm still working at it, and then hopefully one day I'll get really good.
Well, what were those first books like? The ones that didn't get published, the ones that got rejected? What were they about?
They were Cass Rain's books. The first book that they bought was Cass Rain's, the PI series. But when I kept getting rejection for that, I just kept writing casts. So by the time they took the first one, I had 2 other ones in the drawer ready to go. So they took all 3. But I just kept writing because I knew that I was right and they were wrong. And they were going to realize it one day, and they did. But that's what I did. So I don't have any manuscripts in the drawer like some writers do. If there's a problem with it, I figure out what that problem is and I fix it. If I have to tear up a couple of chapters and write more, I do that. But if something tells me that this is the story that I want to write, and I just have to figure out how to make that story sort of come to life and give readers an experience and sort of get the characters down on the page. So I don't have anything in my drawer waiting for me to come back to. If I write it, I'm going to fix it, I'm going to put it out there, and then I go on to the next thing.
So all those ones that were rejected, you can buy today.
Well, it proves they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. So if any writers are out there who have a wish to sort of write, and you have a story in your mind, and you have an idea on the page, go for it, and don't let anybody stop them.
Now, you went into journalism. Why?
Well, because I love to read and I love to write. And I didn't want to be a reporter because that's too hard. So I became an editor, and I went to college and grad school, and I learned journalism and blah, blah, blah. So now the reporters do the hard work, and then I sit there at my desk waiting for their stories to come in, and I tell them what's wrong with it, and then I send it to the newspaper. Okay, so I like that. I like being able to just sort of sit in my fuzzy slippers in my home, because that's where we're all working now, and sort of waiting for the things to come in, and I fix them and send them on their merry way, and then I can sort of turn to my stuff and write my stories.
You still work at the Chicago Tribune. That's
Yep, such as it is. So yeah, I've been there, I think 31 years in June, and I think that's just because they've forgotten that I work there, and because everybody's sort of fractured and at home and working remotely, that they haven't sort of taken a tally lately. So they don't know who works for them. I work for them, and I will work for them until they tell me to stop. So
those stories are keeping in the other editor's basket. And
yeah, our stuff comes in. We know who we have to sort of edit on a daily basis, and they come in. We edit them. We send them on off, and that's what I do. I also do Dick Tracy comic strips. I do Broomhilda. I do Jumble, I do Boggle, I do the LA Times cartoon, so we have op-eds that we have to do, but also features that we have to do. And then we do them at our own pace, in my sweats. My writing time is 5:30 to 8. I switch over and have my Cheerios at 8, 8:30. 8:30 I start with the Tribune stuff. 8:30 to 4:30 I do Tribune work, and then next day, 5:30, writing, 5:30 to 8, Cheerios. I mean, it's a cycle. It's a thing.
what led you to crime fiction?
I don't know exactly. Well, when I read for myself, I started reading Agatha Christie, right? Nancy Drew. And then I was also watching those little old black and white Charlie Chan and, Boston Blackie movies with my grandmother. And I don't know where it came from, but I think when I sort of started using the word chin music for talking, and I was kind of on the road to crime fiction. I mean, stop the chin music. Where do you get that? I mean, you get it from old 1940s black and white movies, right? And I just sort of like the idea of the puzzle, of there being a bad guy and a good guy, and there being that PI or that little dusty guy from the tenements who sort of will not stop. That appealed to me for some strange reason. I don't know why. But I like it. I think crime is my area.
When you first started writing, were any authors your inspiration?
When I first started writing, well, Agatha Christie for one, because I didn't know anybody else. That's what I was reading. Murder at the Vicarage. What 12-year-old black kid from the south side of Chicago has the Murder at the Vicarage in their back pocket? I did. And when I finished one, I would put it down in my stack, and I would get the other one, and I would read those. It wasn't until like the early 80s when Sue Grafton and Sarah Paretsky came in. And I remember sitting in my kitchen reading the Sunday book insert when we had one. I would sort of rush to the front of the house and get the paper off, and I'd discard the other ones, and I just wanted the book section. And it was 1982, I was sitting there with my Cheerios pattern. Anyway, and I saw a review of Sarah Paretsky's first book, Indemnity Only. And I don't think I was halfway through that review before I had my shoes on and headed for the Crocs and Bertanos when they still had them. We had one in Hyde Park, and so that was my Sunday visit. So I read the thing. When that store opened, I went there and I got it. And that was it. That was what I wanted to write. That was a voice that I heard in my head, that I had been hearing since I was 12. And so when I started to try to teach myself how to write, that's the kind of story that I wanted to write about. One that was sort of Chicago-centric, one that was female-centric. And it was just me sort of wanting to put people who looked like me on the page with a voice that sort of spoke to me. And so that's where it started. And then Sue Grafton, then we had Valerie Wilson Wesley sort of a few years later, Eleanor Taylor Bland, people like that. So that kept me going. That's what I wanted to do.
And the last two authors you mentioned, Eleanor and Valerie, were also Black writers, so that must have inspired you even more.
Yeah, it did, because that's the voice that I heard in my head. And I didn't see it before that. I just knew that that was a sort of type of thing, kind of story that I enjoyed reading about. And it wasn't until they came around in the early 90s, it took a few years after Grafton and Sparesky and all the others for them to sort of get a shot at it. And there it was on the page. My voice, my community, my people. And so that's what I wanted to put in my stories. I wanted that voice. And so I don't think if it was not for them, it would have taken me quite a lot longer to sort of find something or find a way to do it.
Now, your first series, which I also love, was about Cass Raines. She is a former police officer turned private eye. What led you to that character?
I heard her voice first. Writers are weird. Some of us hear voices. It could be art. It also could be schizophrenia. I'm not a doctor, I can't say. But I heard her voice very clearly in my head as I sort of made the decision to try to write myself. I guess some writers sort of look for characters, some characters find writers. I think Cass found me. I heard her voice very clearly in my head, and then I just had to sort of find a way to write about her. So I still hear her here. She's in there with Harriet and all the other characters that I'm writing about now, and she's waiting for her next shot. So she's nowhere. She's still in there.
So you're not giving up on Cass?
She won't let me. I mean, she won't. She's still here.
Okay. And you had 4 novels about Cass. They were very well received. I love that series. But now you're writing, and I think you have 4. This is another pattern for you, Tracy?
Yeah, I think so.
About Harriet Foster. She is a cop, a very good cop. What led you to change from PI to police officer?
Well, Cass is sort of loosey-goosey. You know how PIs are. I mean, they have no rules or anything like that. They just sort of go. I wanted somebody whose actual job it was to sort of fight crime. I wanted somebody who had the gravitas and the expertise and the responsibility for actually doing the job of a police officer. And again, it started with Harriet's voice. I didn't know much about her when I started writing the series. I just put her on the sidewalk in front of the police station, and I took everything that I could possibly take from her. I took a son, I took a marriage, I took a partner, and then she walks into the police station and I give her the worst possible partner that I could possibly give her, and then the most impossible case for them to solve and work together on. And that's where she begins. She begins in crisis, she begins in trauma, and then it's my job as a writer to sort of follow her through her day and her life and her career and find out what she's made of. So yeah, it's me sort of putting challenges and roadblocks and things in front of her and to see what she does with it. And that's what Harriet is. I still to this day, after 4 books, don't think I know her as well as I should know her because she won't let me. And again, it could be schizophrenia, or it could be just me sort of trying to really dig really deep into this character and what makes her move and what makes her tick and motivates her to sort of move on because she's got nothing in the first book. At the end of this 4th book, she realizes she has a problem, and that's a good place for a character to be, but then now we have to figure out which way does she go. Does she go this way or that one? She knows she has a problem, she knows she hasn't been living, how does she get herself to move? And that's interesting for me to sort of tackle with. and I still don't know because I'm a pantser, so I won't know that until I get to the next Harriet book.
And a pantser is a term that writers use that they don't do an outline. They just sit there and start typing.
Idiots. I mean, intellectually I realize that that's not really the best way to kind of do it, but my brain does not work any other way. I can't write an outline. I can't, because somewhere in my brain it says, you've written the outline, you've written the book, the story's over, you can get up and go. And you haven't even started writing yet. My brain says, well, if you've written 15 pages of outline, you could have very well have written 15 pages of actual story. And so I'd rather do that.
I thought it was interesting that you introduced Harriet as very grieving, emotionally a wreck, and I felt empathy for her. Good, very much. I felt sorry for her losses, and that's sympathy. At the same time, she's tough, and she barrels through life. Tell us how you do that. I mean, she doesn't give up.
It's human, right? We all go through crap. I mean, everybody. And I wanted her to be as real as I could possibly make her. I wanted her to be human. And we all sort of deal with things, losses, grief, sense of guilt, responsibility. And I wanted her to have all of that weight to now figure out what she's going to do with it. She has to move. She has to do something. She has to get better. She has to sort of get over not the losses, but the feeling that she should have done something better or different. And so I give her everything, because that's human. Nobody gets through this life without losses, without grieving. And so I wanted that to be her. And then now we figure out what she's going to do. What is she going to do with that? Is she going to let that bury her? Or is she going to keep on doing it until she gets out of the hole she's dug for herself? Because she's dug herself a hole. She's brilliant on the job, she's a wonderful investigator, she can find the criminals and the bad guys, that's what they pay her for, that's what she does. She goes home, she takes that badge, that gun off of her waist, and she's got zip. She's got barely any furniture in her house, there's nothing in her refrigerator, she hasn't got a painting on the wall, she hasn't got a tchotchke on her table, she's got zippity-doo-dah, she's got nothing. And so she sits in spaces while she's on her personal time, and then she goes back to work, because that's what she knows how to do, that's what gets her through. And this sort of thing where she sort of picks up little things to mark time, that came to me just sort of as a spark as I was writing it, because as Arlene said, I don't have it outlined, I didn't plan it ahead of time. But as I'm writing her and putting her on this page, I see that she picks up a paper clip, and she puts it in her pocket. And that's how she marks the hour or the time that I got through this hour. I got through this day. Paperclip. Little things. Caps and pens. Things that she puts in her pocket that she hopes nobody else sees her doing. But that's how she gets through her day, her life, 1 second at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was actually going to ask you about the paperclip. It's such an interesting little habit that I think a lot of people do that when they're trying to get through something. I mean, her grief is always there, but it doesn't overpower the story. And you keep that very much back there and very much human. Now, Edge is her latest book. I reviewed it this past Sunday in the Sun Sentinel, if anyone gets the Sun Sentinel, which I hope you do. Edge has so many meanings in this book. Edge is a drug that is killing, it's a fatal drug, and people who aren't usually into drugs are dying. It's also, Harriet's on the edge. She's always on the edge. I think Chicago is on the edge because of the deaths it's seeing. And there also are families on the edge. So let's talk about Edge. What led you to this book?
Well, I had a contract, and I had to write another book. Okay. Halfway through the book you're writing, you sort of know that you have to have another one. So as I'm writing, I think Echo was the one before this, I'm thinking about where Harriet has to be and where she needs to go. And I'm thinking about character arc. I'm thinking about sort of space to get out so that it's not so drastic a change, because I don't think many humans change on a dime. We are who we are. We might sort of shift a little bit as circumstances sort of present themselves, but we're basically the people that we are. So I didn't want this drastic shift. Oh, she's happy, she's sad here, she's happy here. It has to be a process. So as I'm writing the book before this, I'm thinking about this one, but I don't know quite what it's going to be. I just know where Harriet needs to be in order for that shift to happen. And so I was reading the newspaper, we still have one in Chicago, and I saw a little thing, a little news story in there about, toxic drug, OD deaths. And then I start to think, well, what happens if something else happens? What happens, who sort of puts the drug out there? Who's affected? And so while I'm writing the one before this, I'm thinking about that in the back of my head. And so when I'm ready to start this one, I have Harriet in the spot that she's in. And then I have the idea for the toxic drug. And then also it sort of hits on the weather. We're going from fall to winter. And it's also Harriet. She's in a spot where she's going to have to, she's on the edge of where she was and the edge of where she needs to be. And it's also the edge of their working together. Vera Lee is her partner. This is not an easy alliance. They are closer than they were in the first book. But there's Lee, and then there's Harriet. There's Harriet trying to sort of close herself off from everything. She doesn't want any personal, interactions. She doesn't want to get close to anybody. And there is Lee refusing to let her do that. And so this little relationship, this partnership, is uneasy, which is great. I love the tension. I love the conflict. That's what you need in fiction. And so here's Lee trying to get there on this hole. Harriet sort of swatting her hand away, leave me alone. And that sort of propels the partnership forward. So all of these things sort of hit on the title, Edge.
And I love Vivian Lee. I think she's just such a great supporting character.
Yeah, I like Lee. I think Lee saw her in the first book come through that squad room door and said, oh no, she's got a problem. And she sort of had made a decision to say, this is going to be my new project. I gave her the worst possible partner. That wasn't Lee. So Lee is the second partner that she has. The one that sort of realizes that, this might work for me, it might work for you, and let's see what happens.
And without giving any spoilers, because that's against my religion, Harriet's also on the edge about her career. She's suspected of a murder of a very, very bad person. And she's trying to deal with that. So one more conflict, right?
Absolutely, that's what fiction is. I mean, if I was writing about happy people, I would snooze off, and so would you. Tell the truth, you would snooze off too. We don't want happy people. We want people who are complicated and layered and flawed, and to give us something to sort of chew on. And so that's what Harriet is. She's not easy. She doesn't get things right all the time. She's human as I can make her. And I like that. I like the fact that she's messy and has to learn some stuff.
Oh, yeah. I love the fact that she's nothing in her house.
Nothing. Not even an apple in a refrigerator. Who lives like that? Who lives like that?
She doesn't have cows, though.
You need Cheerios at least. I mean, come on.
There's also, I think, a look at families in Edge. Now, Harriet has lost her family. She's lost her marriage. She's lost her son. She has her police family. But there's also other families in here. One is of one of her colleagues' niece is a victim of this drug. So he wants to work the case. He's very close to his sister. He's trying to get involved. There's also a black crime family that has ruled the South Side for generations. And now they're at a crossroads. Let's talk about the dynamics of these families.
Okay, what do you want to know about it? I mean,
Well, everything.
I mean, break it down, well, let's start with the cop family. So you're a cop, all right? You are charged with serving and protecting the entire city. What do you do when you can't protect your own family? Okay, I like that sort of having that spot to be, to sort of figure out what happens. Okay, so you're supposed to protect everybody. In fact, that's Harriet's problem too. She was a detective, homicide. Her job is to protect the entire city of Chicago. And she couldn't protect her own kid. And the same thing is with Matt Kelly. I mean, he's same position, police officer, affects his family. What do you do? And he does some things, I don't want to give it away, but he does some things he probably should not have done. Okay? That's normal, that's human. We probably should all do it or would all do it. Whatever. Okay, the crime family is different because they're on the wrong side of the law, and they're putting out a drug that is killing people. And they're not concerned about that so much as the economy of it, the money. How much am I losing? What does this say to my business?
You need customers keep coming back.
Right. Okay, you need return business, and this thing is killing people. And they're not concerned about the human carnage of it. It's the economy of it. And I found that really interesting because who thinks like that? I mean, who lives like that? What kind of person is that? You got people dropping like flies, and you're worried about how much it's costing you. And so 2 different kinds of families, 2 different issues, same impetus. You know, keeps me up.
I was fascinated by the crime family. Was that based on anyone?
No, I'm just sitting there looking for people. No, it's not based on anybody. I mean, I sit down with a blank piece of paper on a laptop, okay? And I put my characters there. I need a bad guy, this is the bad drug. What kind of person would do that? I try to imagine what kind of person that would be. And then the characters sort of develop over time. I write them down, I think that's who they are. The more I write, the more layered it becomes. It's like sort of painting a wall. You don't just stop with one coat, you just keep doing it, one coat after another, and then until finally you have something that takes shape. And so these characters sort of developed over time. I put them on the page, in a scene, in a room, talking about the drug. What kind of person could possibly be that low, in my opinion? And then I sort of imagine who those people would be, and what motivates them, and what keeps them doing it, and keeps them going, without seeing the human part of it. I just don't understand people like that. I think writers sort of write because they want to understand things, and they want to make sense of things. They want things to make sense, and that doesn't, it's still to this day, I've written, about crime people all the time, 4 or 8 books by now, and I still don't understand the motivation for it. I just don't. And I'm just sort of writing until I try to figure out what it is.
And
Probably never will.
And the crime family is so fascinating. These are not people like from The Godfather where you actually have some sympathy for. But the way you've written them, you want to know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And how can they do this?
Nothing good. Nothing good, and then prepared to do nothing good forever. That's the part. You don't even learn that that's not the thing to do. You would think after the first 2 or 3 bodies fall, you would say, wait a minute, let me think about
Yeah.
money, position, my stake in the city. The same could probably be said about the politicians that I read about in Chicago. I mean, what keeps them going? How many of you have to go to prison before somebody catches on and taking an envelope under the table? Might not be the best career move. We've had, 3 or 4 governors go to jail?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
You indict them into office and indict them the same day.
Right down to her block.
Chicago is, I think, another character in your book. Chicago is a city of neighborhoods all over the place. And you were raised in Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you keep the city fresh? How do you do research on a city that you probably know very well?
Well, I'm from Chicago. I live there. So I don't do a lot of research because I just have to walk outside my house. I know where the hookers hang out. I mean, not, personally, but I know the areas where things happen, okay? So I kind of know where things are. That's how I happened. I worked at the Tribune Tower, and I would take my lunch hour breaks down the Riverwalk. And I noticed one of these days was I'm walking with my little headphones on, trying to forget about my job, that there was a gap in the fence to the right of this Riverwalk. Okay, I said, well, what's on the other side of that? I knew it was Lower Wagner, but I hadn't been down there in years and whatever. And so, fool that I am, I walked through the gap to see what was over there. Now, there's nobody down in Lower Wagner except for people who should not be there, and mystery riders. And so I'm walking through this gap because I want to see. And it's dark, and it's dusty, and it's gritty, and it's dirty, and there are a few homeless people encamped there. And I said, wouldn't this be a wonderful place to dump a body? And it turned out it was. And so that's how I started. The body is there. It's under a thing of leaves, dismembered. Okay, and this is the case that the police have to solve. And so that's Hyde. And every story like that in this series started with something like that. So this started with a little item about drugs, gap through the fence in the Riverwalk. Let's see, fall. And, oh, I love it. Okay, first, I'm thinking about aldermen in Chicago, the city council. We have 50 aldermen. We don't need 50, but we got 50. And so I'm thinking about politics in City Hall in Chicago, and I sort of put an alderman there, dead. And then I put 30 dimes down her throat. 30 pieces of silver, betrayer's payment. I'm off to the races.
Those little details.
I know, right? And it just come to me like in a flash. Again, Alan, do you outline? Not just that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know anything Alan knows. I sort of write. I just write. I write until I make it interesting. I write until the characters speak to me. I write until the characters say something. I want them to feel real. I want them to be as real as I can make them. I want them to be human people. So Harriet is not a superhero. She's not a star. She's just a cop trying to do the best thing she can do with the grief and all the responsibility that I've given her and all of the baggage that she has to carry. And that's trying to make the cases as interesting as I can make them.
Do you ever drive around Chicago and look for things?
Oh, that's how I found my drain pipe. So I was getting my emissions test out of my car, and I'm driving out, and I'm driving here, trying to get home, and I see this culvert that is the perfect size for a body to fit in. I stopped my car, got out, took my phone, and I took a picture of it. Snap, snap. All right, because that's going to end up in a story somewhere, sometime. It hasn't yet, because I haven't found the perfect spot for it. I was back for the emissions test, maybe 6 months ago, and it had overgrown with weeds. Perfect. Okay, the first time there were no weeds. The second time, it was all overgrown with weeds. Perfect. Okay, got out, took another picture in comparison, because that's going to end up in a book sometime, somewhere. I don't know when, but it's here. It will show up. And that's how it's done. We're out in the world, we're people. We're the ones in Starbucks in the next table listening to your conversation about your boyfriend. Because that dialogue exchange, may or may not, ends up in a book of ours. Okay? If it's interesting enough, and there's enough drama in it, and tension and conflict, all of the things that writers love and need, you're gonna read your conversation in our book, slightly modified. But that's how we live. We're people. We're out in the world. We're looking for ideas anywhere we can find them. We're trying to make our characters as human as we can possibly make it. And whatever little tidbit of living that we can sort of put in our little pocket and use, we're going to do it.
I get the feeling that you love Chicago from your books, do you? Good.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, it's a little interesting. I love the city. I love the people. I love the neighborhoods. We have 77 neighborhoods, and 77 neighborhoods that are distinctive. They sound different, they smell different, they have a different vibe. All 77 are distinct. And so I move the books around all the neighborhoods, and, not just downtown or Grant Park or whatever, but Hedgeridge. And nobody goes to Hedgeridge unless you live there. But I want people to sort of know who the people are. They're nice people. They're hardworking people. Different origins, different people, diversity, whatever, but it all sort of mixes together to sort of make Chicago have sort of a feel to it. And so when I'm writing about setting, which is almost important as a character or dialogue or all the other craft elements that you have to write about, you want to sort of take it to a really small level. You don't want sort of the broad view, but the little things, the little details, the little neighborhoods, the mom and pop shops, what people eat, what people listen to, how they dress, what they drive, what their houses look like. And so, yeah, I'm driving around and I know where the neighborhoods are, and I ride around and see what people are doing, and then I absorb it. And so it's there, and when I need it, it shows up.
Your books really get to the heart of police work. I firmly believe that Harriet's a cop. I believe that squad is composed of police officers. How do you research that?
I pick up the phone and I say, Greg, I just wrote a character that is a cop that sort of bursts through the door, kicks the door in. Can they do that? No. Okay, here's my brother-in-law, who's a cop. I have a cousin who's a cop. Their partners are cops. I have a brother who was a cop. I have an uncle who was a captain in the police department.
All right.
Okay, so the Rolodex. Okay, I sent an email, I asked, call. When I started this series, I didn't know, I wanted to know what would motivate a woman, a black woman, to sort of join the police department in the first place. Because I wouldn't take the job out of bed, personally. It's a hard job. All props to people who do it. And so I took 2 homicide detectives, female, to breakfast. And I picked their brain. I wanted to know why they joined, what motivates them to continue to do it in such a difficult city, in such a difficult department that was not set up for them. And so they talked about their work and why they did it and what kept them doing it. And I noticed one of them, when they came into the restaurant, I'm sitting at the table waiting for them, nervous. And she comes in with this big freaking gun. I mean, this gun was so big, it scared the heck out of me. I know she wasn't gonna do anything with it, but she was here on her thing. She comes in, now she's looking, I'm watching her come in. She's looking at the entire restaurant. Boom, 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 seeing who's in there, okay? When she comes to the table, she picks the chair that faces the door, not against the door. Okay, now she leaves she takes her jacket off, but she pulls her shirt down over the gun because it's a sort of a freaking thing. And so I'm taking all of these things, mental notes, because these people have to live a certain way, right? And they just can't go willy-nilly like we go. They have to think about where they are, who they're with. One of the detectives said, well, she doesn't go into an elevator with anybody else in it.
Good.
Okay, that's an interesting thing. And you could sort of see from her point of view why she wouldn't. But that was something that I had not even thought about, because when you walk into elevators all the time, and hello, dude, and then you go on 14th floor. I mean, you don't think about it, but they have to think about it. And so those are the things that I put away. So when I'm writing Harriet, I can sort of have those little details in my mind, and I know that they're cautious about where they go and how they go. And that's just another thing that sort of layers the character and makes her feel and sound and move like a real person.
Without giving everything away, I was thrilled when Cass makes an appearance in Edge.
Me too, because she's still here, as I said, and she was itching for her opportunity to come back. And I did have a story for her that sort of fit her. I found it in this. She's not there a lot, but she's there enough to sort of make her presence now, which I like, because I have gotten emails from readers, when is Cass coming back, when is Cass coming back? She's back in this one, and she may be coming back in the future ones. I'll have to see whether or not she fits.
Okay. What are you most proud of with your writing?
I'm proud that I didn't give up, because as I said, I had a rejection pile that was at least this thick, and it took me over 20 years to get published. And there was a span in there, 2 years, where I couldn't do it anymore. It's not for me, it's not gonna happen. And I put the manuscripts away for 2 years, and I didn't write a thing, I didn't touch it. But there was always this thing in the back of my head that this is what you're supposed to do. You're wasting time. And so I drug them out, and I started over again. And you would think in the Hallmark movie, this is where the big thing happens, where you take it out, and you get an agent right away, and bam, you're off to the... It took me another, at least 10 years after that point of writing, rewriting, starting over, taking workshops, going to conferences, asking any writer that I can possibly find for advice or some kind of direction, more rejection letters, sending it out, more rejection letters. I just refused to stop. And I think I'm most proud of that. The writing, the books, I love them. It's a great accomplishment for me personally to know that I didn't give up and didn't let them sort of knock me back. But that's it, that I kept with it. I didn't stop. I knew I was right, and I was right. In fact, one of the award things that I went to, I can't remember which one of the editors who had rejected me was sitting there, and I knew she was sitting in the audience, and I could have been mad about it, but I was not. Okay, I wasn't raised that way. And so, but it gave me a great satisfaction knowing that I'm standing up here with this award, and the editor who had rejected me is sitting out in the audience, eating her heart out. I hope.
Before I open it up for questions, I want to introduce someone in our audience, Alan Marloff. He's also a writer, an award-winning author. It's great this series out, and he came, which we're very pleased at. He will also be doing one of these events later in the season. So, questions? Who has a question? Yes, ma'am.
You made a statement that you couldn't understand why people or how they could be so evil. And instantly, I had a question for you then. Do you believe in Satan?
Okay, do you believe in Satan?
Well, I'm Catholic, so yeah. I do, but I also think that all evil is not satanic. I mean, there are people who are out here, truly twisted. And I'm sure, haven't just sort of decided whether or not it's sickness or just immorality or maybe a combination of both, but that's my thing. I'm trying to figure out what makes people do bad things, and I think most crime writers do. We're trying to figure it out, as all of us are trying to figure out, but the people that I put in this book are just sort of craven in terms of not caring about the human part of it. And that's a special kind of, I don't know what, inhumanity, really. Because anytime you can sort of do something like that, know it's wrong to begin with, continue to do it knowing it's wrong, and even after people are dying as a result of what you've done, continue to do it because it fits your needs and because you just don't care about what happens to the other guy. That's the thing. I don't know what that is, but whatever it is, that's what every book that I'm writing, that's what I'm trying to get at. That's what I want to figure out. What kind of person does that? Now you can call it evil, you can call it Satan, I don't know what to call it. That, whatever that kernel thing is right there, that's what I'm writing about, every freaking book that I'm writing about, because I don't understand it.
Other questions?
Yes, that is a sociopath.
What?
That's a sociopath.
That's a sociopath.
Then a sociopathy has degrees. That's extreme. What she's talking about. You see what I'm saying? I hear what you're saying, but I don't know your decision. Me, sociopath was someone one time. Not all sociopaths can just chop up somebody. I don't know.
As I do in Hyde, because that's a psychopath, okay? The killer in Hyde is a serial killer. He's very specific about who he takes. He's not just going out in the city of Chicago taking whoever, okay? He's taking red-headed women in their 20s, okay? Very specific, that's his thing. And he will not stop. He won't stop, he won't stop, he won't stop. And so now Harriet and her team have to figure out who he is, how to make it stop, and there's a twist to it, because there's something else going on too. But that's sickness, immorality again, I don't know. I'm still trying to work it out.
Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Helena, do you have to read your books in any order? Because it sounds like the characters run through the next stories. Is there a certain order to read them, or
Is there a certain order to your books?
You don't have to. I happen to be one of those readers who likes to start at the beginning because you sort of get the ground floor of who the character is and what they're going through. But you can catch any book in the series at any point and sort of, go back if you want, or you can sort of get the full effect of it. You just don't know what sort of her origin story is.
so? What was your first book that you had?
Well, this series, it's Hyde. In the other series, it's called Broken Places. That's the cast series.
Okay.
I always say that you don't know every friend from the beginning of their childhood. You meet them in middle age, old age, in high school. So that's what I feel about books. I always tell you to pick one up and just get involved with that new friend you're making.
Either way.
Do buy the books. There was a question over here. Up two, okay.
Creativity. You're obviously a very creative person. Was it encouraged or discouraged, and to what extent in your childhood?
Well, I guess I kept read bedtime stories every night, and my mother would take us to the library every Saturday. So we would go Saturday to the children's section, and she would let us get as many books as we wanted to get, and we'd come read them and come back the next Saturday and get some more, and that went on my entire childhood until I started reading for myself. And then I would go in, and I would get the books that appealed to me, Amelia Bedelia, Harriet the Spy, I mean all of it. I found my copy of Harriet the Spy about a year ago. I was in my stash somewhere, and you would have thought that somebody had given me a gold bullion. I mean, really, that book.
I have one.
I know, is it the one with the orange cover?
Yes.
I found it. I found it, and it's in a place of pride now, but yeah. So I read all the time. Library is my favorite place. I would live in the library if I could, and it started there. It started with the reading.
Did you tell stories, or you just read?
Nope, I was a shy kid. I didn't tell a story. I didn't show. Nope, I didn't write to show anybody. My mother didn't read anything I had written until that first box of books showed up at my doorstep with my first book in it. So she would always ask, "Oh, can I read what you're writing?" "No, you cannot, because it's crap." Okay, and it was, because that's what, early writers writing. They're writing crap, and they're writing crap until they learn how to write better. You just keep writing. The more you write, the better you get, the better your chances. It's like priming the pump. So that early writing was not good, and I didn't want anybody to read anything that was not good. And I waited until I knew it was good, and then he could read it.
Now, the lady next to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really give Harriet some little drops of sunlight, and it does get into your books.
Actually, at the end of this, she realized, when I said she realized she has a problem and has to deal with it, her boss orders her to go to therapy. And in Chicago, and for the Chicago Police Department, there's an actual therapy spot. It's called St. Michael's. And you can go there with anonymity, and you can talk to the therapist, and you can get what you need to sort of deal with the job that you've done. I renamed it in this one, but it's a real place. And so she now has someone that she can talk to. Now, the therapist that I gave her was very specific. She's African American, like Harriet is. She's a former cop, like Harriet is. And so now they have that connection. So now she can open up and she can talk about what she needs to talk about. And that's how the book ends, with her walking into that therapist's office for the second time, determined that she's going to get off of that edge and go forward. So, yeah, she has moved. The characters have to change, and especially in the series. You can't read about the same character in the same space for each book. So when she gets to book 4, she knows she has a problem. There's nowhere else she can stuff another thing down, which is what she's been doing. Just stuffing it down, and keep moving. And her reservoir is full. There's nowhere else she can stuff anything. And she has to do something. And so, yeah, we'll find out what happens to her next time. I have no idea, because of course, unlike Ellen, I have no outline or no plan.
Lady in the front is announcing to you.
Is it hard for you to, or for you to say someone, that if you get suggestions, do you consider them, or do you say they have no idea on?
Well, as an editor for my day job, I know the relationship between writer and editor, okay? They're not out to get you. It might seem like it sometimes, but you work together, okay? You've written what I've written. I've written what I've written. Somebody else sees it with a different set of eyes. Now, if I see it differently than they see it, we have a discussion, okay? I can explain myself, they tell me what they think. If it's something that seems rational and something doable and something that I can sort of get my head around, okay, I'm fine with it. Now, if there's something that I don't agree with, for a specific reason or whatever, then they usually say, well, okay, you win, it's yours, do what you want. But I don't sort of look at it like they're trying to do something to me. I mean, they're doing their job, I'm doing my job, both of us doing the job, hopefully to make the work better. And you have to sort of speak up for yourself when you think maybe they got it a little wrong. And there was only one instance in the first series with Cass, where the editor said, well, I had her walk out to the house of a African-American couple in their 80s, okay? An old couple, and she comes in, Cass comes in, and I have her standing at the door because she hasn't been asked in. And the editor said, well, don't you think she would just go into the living room and sit down on the couch? No. Okay, you don't go into old people's houses and say, oh, Shirley, you don't know. Okay, you have the respect of standing there until you were invited in. And so that was the only little thing we had back and forth. And that's been the only instance where I've had to sort of stick up and say, no, this would not happen. So otherwise, they trust you to sort of know what your story's about, and you trust them to sort of know that they're trying to make your story better. So I don't argue, might have a little back and forth, somebody wins, move on, let's go on to the next thing.
There was a question back here.
How much time do you spend on each book? Writing?
The first series, they gave me a solid year to write it, which is wonderful. This series, no?
The entire series?
No, one book. So one book per year. This series, they gave me 10 months per book. Yeah, right.
That's hard. That's hard.
It's hard. Especially because I'm a very slow writer, because I focus on everything. The editor I can't turn off in my head. So I'm checking semicolons, commas, spellings. I can't leave a typo. If it's misspelled something, I have to go back and fix it before I move on, or else my brain won't do anything. And so I write very slowly. So 10 months is kind of crunch time for me. And for the one I'm writing now, I have until the end of February. It was the 12th of January was my deadline. And then I woke up one day and 20,000 words were missing out of my file. Okay, my brain is stuttering, just give me a second. It was gone. The file was gone. It wasn't in my recycling bin, it wasn't in my cloud, it wasn't anywhere I left it. And so I freaked out, and luckily I had a partial version on a USB thing that I could sort of rebuild from, but if I had that, I would have nothing at this point. And so, it still happens. I think that happens to every writer. Alan?
If that happens, Okay, sorry.
So check it down. We're not. But yeah, we sort of have to just go with it, because now it's a job, now it's a business. I'm not writing for myself anymore. All those years when nobody wanted it, I was writing for my own pleasure and for my own edification. I was trying to teach myself how to write. I was doing everything I could do, and I did it on my own pace. And now 10 months is 10 months. Now 10 months and 5 months is 10 months. And because the other things have to happen once I turn it in. Marketing has to get involved, publicity has to get involved, production has to get, so it's a machine. And so my book is their product. The product has to be there when they need it to be there, and then other things have to happen up here.
Does that take away from your creativity?
I think sometimes it does, because you don't have the time to sort of think, well, if I, in a perfect world, what could I do with, you have to keep it moving. And sometimes when you have to keep it moving, you lose some of the freshness and some of the slice of fancy that you might be able to take if you had more time to sort of flesh it out.
Do you have any writing habits? Like, I understand Twizzlers are often involved. Like, obviously Cheerios, too.
Okay, so I get up at 5:30 because I still have the thing. So I have a glass of V8, a splash of lemon, and then I have a 5-pound tub of Twizzlers on my writing desk. So V8, chug, healthy. And then I have the Twizzlers, because once you sort of chew on a Twizzler and get to the end, you kind of figure out what your problem is. So when I get stuck, I put a Twizzler in, and chew on it. And by the time usually I get to the end of the Twizzler, I've figured out what my problem has been. And so I can go forward. Sometimes it takes 2 Twizzlers. But usually by the end of one of those Twizzlers, I know where I have to go. And so V8 in the morning, Twizzlers by my side, and then I just go.
Other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Do you ever have your great sense of humor? Does it ever go into your books?
Sometimes, and I think Cass is kind of closer to who I am as a personality in terms of the quips and the wisecracking. She's more like me than Harriet is. Harriet, if we went to a party together, Harriet would hate me. Okay, because I'd be in there cracking jokes, and she would probably leave in 5 seconds. And she doesn't. She ain't got time for it.
Emily.
There's
But, yeah.
there's a bit of humor, but it's done well, and it's done to kind of alleviate the darkness the cops deal with.
And that's an interesting point too. You would think that cops, when dealing with all of this stuff, this darkness, death, shootings, would be the most dour people that you could possibly, but there's that graveyard humor that goes in and that helps them cope. And when I was talking to the police officers as I'm writing this thing, well, how do you sort of deal with all of this stuff? You know, and it's through humor and camaraderie and fraternity. And you have to find the lightness somewhere in there, otherwise you would crack up and go crazy. I mean, child abuse. I talked to Greg, my brother-in-law, and it was a case where this little kid scalded with hot water. I mean, how do you deal with that on your shift? And then go home to your wife and your children and be a normal person. It takes something out of you over the years. It's cumulative. I mean, you get to the end of 25 years or 30 years in the police department, and you're a different person than you were when you started out. And that's kind of what I wanted to write about, too. It's not so much the case. It's the case because it has to be crime fiction. But I'm writing more about the people and how they're affected by this. Whatever that thing is I'm trying to figure out.
I'm going to take one more question, which will be Alan.
Actually, I have two questions. Regular Cheerios or Honey Nut?
Great. Regular Cheerios, I don't like that honey nut. Okay, Cheerios, plain Cheerios. That's all you need. I mean, why do they have to dish it up? And then they've got a strawberry version. Stop it. Stop it.
And the other question.
Rumor has it that you're working on a standalone. Why did you decide to take a break from your series?
Okay, that's my publisher, because according to the algorithm, which writers hate, according to the algorithm, the interest in a series wanes after 3 books. Okay, that's the robot telling them, after 3 books, nobody wants to hear about Harriet, give it a break. And so they said, suggested, after the 4, let's try to do something else, and then we'll come back to Harriet at a future date. So that's how the standalone happened. And the standalone has been giving me fits ever since I started it, because I don't feel comfortable with it. I'm the kind of person who likes to follow characters through their lives. I'm nosy that way. I want to figure out what is wrong with Harriet and with Cass and how they're going to get through. And now if I have to drop them and come to somebody else, I don't know these people. And I have to get in, I don't know, it's just not comfortable yet. But I have to do it because my deadline is looming.
Okay, I will take one more question. You had your hand up. This lady she has not asked that question yet. Who do you see as your audience when you're writing?
I don't get offended, but I don't think about you. I don't think about readers when I'm writing. I'm thinking about character. I'm thinking about Harriet and Vera and Szymanski and all the rest of the cops on her team. I'm thinking about her emotional health. I'm thinking about what's going to make her better. I'm thinking about what's going to move her to the next step. I'm thinking about all of those things. Now, I'm trying to write as good a story as I can write with all the craft elements working, all the balls spinning, all of it. And hopefully at the end of that, if I'm satisfied with the story and where the characters are, and I think that I've written a solid thing, readers are going to find it, they're going to like it, hopefully, and then it will give them a good read. So I'm not thinking about you while I'm doing it, I'm thinking about you after the fact, and hoping that you find something in this that appeals to you.
I'm good. Okay.
Do you miss your characters when you're done?
They're not anywhere. They're here. Do I miss writing about them? Yes, especially the series ones, because I like them. I kind of know who they are. I know where they need to go, and I would like to get them there. And now I'm sort of having to take a break for new characters who, I can take or leave on. I'm going to tell you the truth. I mean, really, I don't know. So I'm anxious to get back to Harriet. I want to see her get to the next level, because I think she can get there. But losing a kid is a hard thing. And a mother never gets over that. So I have to find a way for her not to get over it, but still sort of get to the next level. So it's here, it's not going anywhere. Her kid's gone. and now she has to save somebody else's kid book.
Okay, Tracy will be signing books back in the corner. Stacy has some for sale, and you can all ask questions, additional questions. Yeah. We will be, the Writers Live program continues this month. I think James, and it continues through February and actually through April. I hope you all will come to more. I hope you enjoyed this. Please give Tracy a round of applause. Thank you.